God have mercy on us all.
Did I screw that up?
And you can get Listen Up for only $14.99.
So this week is Thanksgiving,
It is.
and Matt Russell's not feeling very
No,
Thanksgiving-y.
I'm feeling Thanksgiving-y. It's just, there's a lot of things going on. But I have
You can
space.
compartmentalize,
No, I have space in my heart. I feel
disassociate.
like
But
Yeah.
but this week is Thanksgiving, so there's going to be. We always like to talk about Thanksgiving and gratitude, and we found first when we start with the video, we found this video that I think I sent to you. It's from Nate Bargatze's podcast called Nateland. I think that's his thing, but it's not him. I don't know who this guy is.
he has like a bunch of friends on. It's like friends of Nate, basically.
I did, but if you go to Nateland's entertainment or Nateland podcast, they do like a whole hour of Thanksgiving complaints, like Thanksgiving hot takes, a whole hour. But this was one that I thought was interesting that you could riff off of.
My personal Thanksgiving hot take is get rid of turkey. It's a sides holiday. It's the most work for the least popular dish. Turkey is like the LaCroix of meats. It's meat-flavored meat. You remember when you watched Aladdin and you're like, the genie is the best part of this. That's the sides at Thanksgiving. The sides are the genie. Aladdin is the turkey. It's the most boring, basic thing, and it gets way more screen time than it deserves. You're like, give me more genie. I know there are people who are saying, well, you haven't tried my turkey. And if that is true, I guarantee your side dishes are still better than your turkey.
They do that. They do say, well, if you had my turkey, you wouldn't know. He is not wrong on this.
He is not wrong.
And I fry turkeys, and they're very good. Yeah. But the reason he's not wrong, the reason that you can prove him right by just factual data. Tell me what restaurant in February that you can go to
And get turkey.
and get turkey.
Yeah, none.
It doesn't exist. The only place it exists, if you go to like Mickey's Soul Food, they will do smothered turkey wings.
Oh, okay.
And they're pretty good. But you gotta basically
gotta
cover them
smother 'em.
in salt
gotta
and gravy. They have to be so covered in gravy that you don't even really. It's just a giant chicken wing at this point. And the only other time that you're going to get turkey
is at the Ren Fair with
yes.
a big
Turkey
old
leg.
or whatever. Yeah, man,
Rodeo.
you're dressed up in something weird that you're not going to be proud of in about 20 years. I'm just saying.
No, some of these people, 20 years, they're still wearing this stuff. They've been going.
Well, that may be diagnosable.
But yes, Renaissance Fair and Disney World.
Which is also
Theme
diagnosable.
Disney adult.
Disney adults. Sarah.
In the America Pavilion
Joseph.
at Epcot. You go it was Epcot. You go like Mexico. It's like, oh man, look at all this food, enchiladas and quesadillas and like margaritas. And then you go to Germany and there's bratwurst and they have all these. And then you go to Tokyo, sushi. And you go to
Sake.
China,
It's
Italy,
basically
and they
a
got.
drink.
Then you go to the American Pavilion. What do they have?
Mac and cheese.
Turkey legs and funnel cake.
That's what we're doing.
And funnel cake.
Turkey legs,
600-pound
and
males that are
funnel
smoking.
cake. But yeah, so he's not wrong. I mean, I fry it. I would say it's as good when a fried turkey, if you do it right, is as good as any way to make a turkey.
Yeah.
The only way he would be wrong is if you have a family or live in a family like where someone has like insanely high blood pressure or, cholesterol issues and the mashed potatoes come out with no salt, no butter, or the green beans come out with no salt, no bacon, no nothing. But I don't know a lot of people that do that.
No.
But that would be the only exception. I just don't experience that.
Most of the folks that I know with those kind of issues have cheat days like 4 days a week anyway.
Thanksgiving is a major
It's a
cheat
friggin'
day.
cheat day. So between between about November and January 10th is just one big cheat day.
Well, I have a friend. I'm not going to say who it is. People will know who it is, but he's like, my doctor said I don't need to drink wine anymore. I can't drink wine anymore. I said, well, man, I'm sorry. I know you enjoyed wine. He goes, no, I'll drink it.
He just said I can't.
He said, but now what
Doc says it's going to kill me.
He said, but now what I do, he says, I'm just very selective. I'm measured. I don't do it as much. And when I do it, I order some really nice wine. It's really good wine.
Make it count.
I was like, well, that's actually not a bad way to do it, I think.
Or
The sober answer.
The sober
you
answer.
could face your own pain, but I get it.
So as people go into Thanksgiving, one of the things we always talk. What did you say?
I said, or you could face your own pain. I mean, if you're doing something that the doctor says is really horrible for your health, and then you find 18 adjustments to it, maybe the problem isn't. I'm just saying.
You have wise things to say.
You do.
It's kind of like this podcast is going to turn into
This has gone off
old men with their ailments.
Old men with
Because
anger problems.
my jaw has started popping, clicking, in the joint thing. And I was talking to a guy the other day who's like an orthodontist. He's like, yeah, the cartilage, as you get older, blah, blah, blah. He goes, don't chew gum. I was like, well, I don't really chew gum, so that's not going to be a problem. He goes, yeah. He goes, like, chewing gum, he goes, like, if you knew you had a bad knee with no cartilage, would you go running? Would you go jogging? I was like, I don't jog, so I can't really answer that question.
Wrong person.
Yeah, I'm not the one to ask the question to. He's like, yeah, don't chew gum, don't chew ice. So I'm not going to do that, but I got to figure out what's going on with that. It's not popping now, though, so it's good.
I don't like that jaw stuff.
My knee hurts. I think there's a storm coming in.
I was visiting with a guy
not
this
right.
morning who's going to have some major heart surgery next week, and he said his family members are calling, like his brother-in-law called, said, "Oh, here you're having major heart surgery." Well, let me tell you what I've dealt with this year. It's like, man, I got a hip over here. It's like, I said, so they call and just talk about their ailments. He goes, yeah. They just call and
That's what
talk
getting
about their
old
ailments.
is.
That's what old people do.
Yeah. It's just like, the litany of.
So let's talk about gratitude.
Let's do this. Let's flip the script.
So one of the things we were sort of exploring around, I found an article by a guy who is, his name is Chris Osunik, PhD, RD, I don't know what RD, MBA, that's a lot of degrees. But he was talking about understanding gratitude. And one of the first things before we get into some of the ways we could do, he talks about a gratitude gap. Have you heard this term before?
No.
All right, so simply put, gratitude gap is that the practice of gratitude, if you're going to practice gratitude, has two elements to it. And the first one is an inward element of recognizing all the things that you're grateful for. Like, hey, you're walking down the street. You're like, I'm grateful that I have my health to walk. Went to the gym this morning. I'm grateful that I can still go to the gym. I'm grateful that I can walk up a flight of steps after I go to the gym, even though it's insanely painful.
Wait till tomorrow.
Yes. Inward recognition
Yes.
of things that you're grateful for. But what he says is, most of us experience these inward elements, and we don't then make this next step, which is an outward element of expressing this gratitude with others, especially to those who inspire gratitude in you.
Yes.
And he said, so what happens, what I thought was interesting, is that that most of us experience the inward feelings of thankfulness and gratitude and appreciation, warmth and kindness. But because we're so busy, because we're so hectic lives that we have, less than half of the people ever outwardly express the gratitude that they experience internally. And this is what he calls the gratitude gap. Why does it matter? He says, well, without the second step of gratitude, you're not really reaping all of the rewards of gratitude, because positively affecting others with your appreciation is where he writes the magic really happens, and the transformation. It sort of, I guess, brings gratitude full circle. Like something's happened or something you notice, you're very grateful for it. The blessings that you've been given. You know, for us as Christians, we believe that all the gifts that we've been given, everything is a gift of God.
Yeah.
And
And grace and gratitude come out of the same root word, which I think is super interesting. So,
and lovely. Grace and gratitude.
Yeah.
So he says, without this expression, this outward, we miss the opportunity to strengthen relationships. We miss the opportunity to foster goodwill, and we miss the opportunity to encourage the cycle of giving and receiving.
yeah.
That seemed to resonate with you for some.
Yeah, I was just thinking, like, it's like buying something from Amazon and leaving it in your cart. You know, never actually purchase. So there's the thing that is really good that you want, right? And so gratefulness kind of itches that. But to have it delivered, you really have to then take that next step and say, hey, John, I feel grateful for you because of, like, you wrote me a note last week. And I have the notes that you have written me about your gratefulness to me, right? And so you doing that, like, does something for me that makes me go, oh, that's awesome, right? And so I think it's not just putting it internally in the cart, but it's then going and, completing that.
I have a totally different experience with an Amazon cart. My daughters who were...
They're on your Amazon account.
My daughters, who can we say on the pocket, they're grown adults with their own money, and yet they log into my Amazon and they put things in my cart. Somehow, I don't always notice that they're there. So if I go to buy something, all of a sudden things show up at my house and
Christmas
said, "Oh,
in July.
your Lululemon leggings will be delivered tomorrow." And I didn't order Lululemon leggings.
I've got an easy hack for that.
Okay.
There's a thing called password change.
I've done that, but
Really?
I don't know.
Sneaky,
They're sneaky. They're like
children.
Russian bots or something. One of the things he talks about, he's like, all right, so if you can close this gratitude gap, right? If you can start externally sharing it more, it cultivates more. It actually has this exponential work in your relationship. So what he says is a list of things. It elevates your mood. It reduces envy. This is interesting. Gratitude and reducing the gratitude gap makes you less envious.
Yes. You know why?
Yes. Well, no, I mean, tell me.
Well, I don't know why, but I think because it allows us to see our life as enough. When we're ungrateful, we're always in need of something to fill that spot. But gratitude opens up like the landscape, and we realize, oh my goodness, what I have right now is enough.
Yeah.
Right?
A theology of enough.
Right. That often there's a guy, this is interesting. There's a guy at Mercy Street that did 30 years for Grand Theft Auto and a lot of other things, became a really good friend. I asked him one time, like, why did you steal? And he spent, 20 years stealing and then 30 years in prison. And he said, I stole not because I wanted what you had. I wanted what I thought you felt like when you had that.
Interesting.
Which is really interesting to me.
So you want the thing, you want the feeling.
He wanted the feeling. So he'd steal a car thinking, I think I know what you feel like. You have enough, you're complete, you're all this. He didn't want the car, he wanted the feeling that he thought you had. And I think that being ungrateful or not aware of gratefulness and envious, we think, oh, I want what that other person had. We want what we think that person feels and is experiencing. Right? And gratefulness basically says, I don't need what you have. The inner work of having enough and then is enough.
People who are grateful people tend to have greater emotional resilience, better at coping with adversity, and have a more positive perspective. That's interesting. It can improve your sleep. Studies have shown.
Yes.
Need that.
It can reduce your stress.
Yes.
Gratitude is a natural stress buster. Gratitude has cardiovascular benefits. Well, if it helps your sleep and it helps your stress, it kind of makes sense that it would be reduced stress and reduced inflammation. Wow, we're doctors.
Just healing people. This is what Jesus did. Just walked around healing folks.
Gratitude fosters better relationship. It enhances empathy. You become more attuned to others' feelings. It creates a positive social environment. So those are the benefits. Now, I think the next thing to talk about then is what are the practices that get you there? How do you close the gratitude gap to reap these benefits, right? What do you need to do? And so he gives a list of a few things. Practice mindfulness. Do you know what mindfulness is, Matt?
Yes, I do, John.
How do you practice mindfulness?
So, I have been meditating for about 10 years now. There's a woman named Tara Brock who has a she's got a podcast and a lot of other things. And I usually use a guided meditation. I have,
Is it on her podcast? You can use that?
100%. She has like a teaching. She alternates between a weekly teaching and a meditation. And so you can, and there's anywhere from 3-minute, 5-minute, 10-minute, and 20-minute meditations. And so I've been using that for 10 years.
Wow.
And
That's a good resource.
absolutely saved my life. Wow. Biggest impact in my spiritual life in 10 years is, and I don't know if you know this about me, I have a touch of ADHD. And so it was hard for me at the beginning to sit alone with my thoughts, because it would be like, 30 seconds in, it's like, batting bottom of the fifth, my mind was off.
Might be outside.
And so I needed a voice that was not my own to lead me to a place that I could not get to by myself.
Yeah.
And so this was, that really
Thomas Keating talks about when you're learning contemplative prayer or meditation or things like that when you start, your mind's going to wander.
Dear Lord.
And he said, instead of beating yourself up with shame, he goes, let it wander, come back, cycle yourself back in, keep going. And over time, you can learn to develop
100%.
that as a skill or
yes, you
tool.
can. You can.
You get better at it.
Like worry is a skill I developed really well. And you know what I mean?
You're a professional warrior.
I am a professional at anxiety. And so to train my mind, like the root word of meditation, friggin' awesome. From the Sanskrit, means to return home.
Oh, wow, I like that.
So my mind goes away from home and it begins to worry about everything. So meditation is not like achieving some Zen state or, ecstasy with Jesus. It just means to come back to this present moment where God is.
Where do you slot that in your daily schedule?
So
Right after his CrossFit.
Empty the mind.
I empty the tank, then I empty
the bowels, then I empty the mind.
So I do it usually in the morning. Okay. It's the only that I get up early because it's the only quiet space I have. And then what I'm doing now, I've done it long enough to where then to take little breaks when I'm feeling overwhelmed. My idiot lights are pretty well dialed in now. And if not, I've got enough friends in this room and beyond that will say, "Hey, you all right?" And if I don't see the idiot light come on, then I can see that and go, "Oh, I need to attend to this." So, yeah,
it's good.
Yeah, mindfulness, and I think there's a thing like mindful eating, or where, and I think at Thanksgiving it's a good thing. Like you think about all the things that are on your table. It's like the farmers that grew the food, right? And the earth that produced it, and the people who harvested and picked the vegetables and all those sorts of things, who raised the turkey. Those are ways to help you think, man, there were a lot of people involved in bringing this to this place.
That's right.
So the second thing he says is verbalize your gratitude. Make it a daily habit to express gratitude to others. Jeff and Matt, I am so grateful for you. I really am. And not just because it says as number 2, I should do this to close the gratitude gap. I'm not doing it for selfish. This is altruistic motives here. I mean, I really am verbalizing my gratitude for you.
Thank you.
Have you all ever played the circle of gratitude with your families?
I don't know.
No. What
All
is
right,
that?
so a little thing I shared on Sunday, circle of gratitude is when your family gets together and you hold hands and you say, let's go around and share what we're thankful for, right? At
Yes.
Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Something like that,
Yeah.
right? Everybody shares something you're
Yeah.
thankful for. And I learned a little trick how to win this game.
Say Jesus.
How to win.
You are an 8 on the
No,
Enneagram.
I learned
The grateful.
I learned
win gratefulness.
I learned how to dominate
Gratefulness.
the circle of gratitude.
Let's go.
Because what happens is when you stand there, everybody goes, so who'd like to go first? And no one wants to go. Right? Well, then you wait and you wait and you wait, but all the good answers get taken, like
Right.
God and Jesus and all this kind of stuff, and my family, my wife. So what I learned to do, it took me a few years. Like we go with Stephanie's family. There's a lot of people in the circle. It grows and grows and grows.
Yeah.
So who'd like to go first? I go, I'll go.
I got you.
I'll start, like right away. I don't give anybody a chance. And I say, I just want to say how grateful I am for God, my Lord, and for Jesus and his salvation.
You covered
how
it.
grateful I am for my beautiful wife and my children, all of you and my family together, and that we live in this great country, United States of America, where we can be free, and all the food that we're going to, just the food that we're here, and just this wonderful gathering together, this place where we go. So then I'm done, and I'm like, I've just now one-upped everybody before they ever get
Look
to
at
share.
you. Look at you dominating gratefulness.
Now, for the next 3.5 minutes, as we go around the circle, they say, well, I guess I'll echo what John said.
I'm going to echo that echo.
So it's a little bit of advice. If you have the circle of gratitude in your family,
Dominate
this is a
it.
cheat code. This is the cheat code. How you can dominate. Yeah, you verbalize it. I think it's important. He also says, take a gratitude walk.
Yep.
Stroll through your neighborhood, park, observe, internally express gratitude for the beauty of nature.
And then they're doing a plug for their app. Use tech reminders on the calm.org.
Yes.
Use tech reminders.
For $29 a month.
Download an
You
app.
too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Calm, it's a subscription service, right?
Yeah.
It is.
Use a tech
It is.
reminder. So, yeah, set daily reminders. I turn that off on my watch where it says take a stand break. Have you seen that on the Apple Watch?
I don't have
It tells you when to stand up.
Okay.
You can turn it off. It also has breathing exercises. So, like so often, it'll tell you to do breathing exercises.
But I think there's certain personalities, John Stevens, that don't like people to tell them what to do after a while. So stand. You're like, you don't know me.
Right.
I'm standing right now. Breathe. I'm breathing. You can't tell me what.
Yeah,
That's how
there
I
is a
feel
little bit of
sometimes.
that in me, I think. I think you're right. I'll do it when I get ready.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the doctor telling the guy, yeah, you shouldn't drink wine.
Well,
yeah, I'll show you.
Just,
I'm going to actually increase my consumption.
just better wine.
Exactly. He also says to, reframe negative situations when you're when you're faced with challenges, to make a conscious effort to reframe them in a more realistic, or if you're able, more positive. Trying to find the silver lining in things, trying to find a way to find something in it.
Yeah.
I actually think this is a good practice.
Oh,
because if you
huge.
didn't, if all you ever did was focus on the negative stuff, and you're like, let's describe how horrible this could actually be.
Yes. Yes. Can I riff on that for a second? 'Cause
Please.
It's super interesting to me because I think that like part of spirituality and psychology, there's a thing called fixed mindset. And anxiousness, depression, busyness, I see in a very certain way. And I wonder if in the Gospels when Jesus is healing, been reading through Mark, and there's all these places where Mark puts the words in Jesus's mouth to, if you have ears to hear and a new way of seeing, right? Because when I'm locked in to my own fear or my own anxiousness or whatever the indigent of that is behind that, I can only see certain things. And I think that gratitude, when I practice that, and it feels like often when I practice in gratitude, when I'm anxious, it's a practice.
Yeah.
Like it's a will. It's not like rainbows and unicorns I'm feeling. I have to begin to say things like, I'm grateful. I was mowing the lawn yesterday, just anxious as heck. And I was like, what am I grateful for? Oh, the color green. It's all around me. Right? Like those things, like super elemental. And I begin to see things outside of my fixed mindset, which has already determined the way my life is going to go. And so it's not some kind of like, the reframing is not just a desire to feel rainbows and unicorns. It's to say, I think in the ministry of Jesus, who heals the blind eye and who restores hearing, that gratefulness is part of the grace that gets me there to that healing place. It doesn't take away my anxiousness. It puts us in a wider geographical landscape that says this is not all there is. And I think that is something that has to be a practice and something that is, I think it's if I want to grow, I have to be connected to those things. So
Yeah, that's a good word. Yeah, and especially when you have a lot of negative things that are coming back to back to back.
yeah,
Or big things that come, like big things.
yeah,
Trying to figure out a way to shift the perspective a little bit and find what you are grateful for.
That's right.
The last couple here, last three actually, he says start the day with gratitude, or start the meal, or start the meeting, or start the gathering. I think that's actually, we say grace at the meal, right? You say blessing for the meal, and you always say we thank you, oh Lord, for what we're about to receive. And man, I don't think about it. There's a tradition in the Jewish tradition. It's the Barak is 100 blessings a day.
Wow.
You familiar with that?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So
I didn't know there
you're
was 100
supposed to
blessings.
bless God 100 times a day. Bless you, O Lord. Bless you. You're blessing the Lord. Bless you, O Lord, for the coffee that the cappuccino that Bobby. Bless you, O Lord, for Bobby who brought cappuccino. Bless you, O Lord, for Jeff who met us out in the field on a Sunday afternoon and took pictures. Bless you, O Lord. And what they do is that reframes a lot of things because you're starting everything with gratitude. You sit down, bless you, O Lord, for us being able to do a podcast.
Yeah.
Things like that.
It's a gift. That's right.
Ooh, I love this one. Commit to a gratitude buddy.
Ooh. A gratitude buddy.
Share your daily gratitude with a friend or a loved one.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Through a text, an email, in person. I don't do this enough.
Yeah.
Am I broken?
No. Well, yes. Of course you are.
Everybody's broken.
Yeah, so like, welcome to being human, right? Like, there's some friends that I have that are in a men's group, and they have been texting one thing that
text
they
you
are
too right
grateful
now.
for the last 15 years.
Wow.
15 years, unbroken chain. In the morning, they've all decided to do this.
Wow.
And they've been in this group for 15 years, every morning, without fail. And it doesn't matter who starts it. They just say they've committed to saying, yes, I'll jump in.
Wow.
So whoever starts, they go. And sometimes I've asked him, has it ever failed? He's like, nope. Sometimes we'll forget, or we'll all forget and somebody will text at 6 o'clock at night or 10 o'clock at night. And then we're like, oh,
Right.
But I just think,
Wow.
having a gratitude buddy.
Check your text message. I just sent you all a text message. That I'm
Hey,
grateful
look at
for.
that.
So you're my gratitude buddies.
Okay, we're all right.
Today,
Buddy system.
right
Let's
now.
go.
Buddy system.
No, I have. This is something I've learned, and I don't know. Maybe naturally, I don't know. I'm wired just more selfish or oblivious, or not as aware of noticing. My first position was an associate pastor, and I was there for 2 years. And there was this lady who basically hated me the whole time I was there. She was like trying to get rid of me, trying to work against me and everything. And I never knew why, but when I left, she said, well, the first week you were here, I was walking down the hallway and you were walking down the hallway and you didn't say anything to me. And I used to be like, I was in the zone, man. I had something I was going to accomplish and do. And that was a huge lesson for me. And I'm glad it happened early on, because now it's like, I always make eye contact and speak to people as they're walking, even in places like the grocery store.
Yeah.
Or,
Yeah.
and I always try to tell people, like now, like every Sunday when the tech team's putting up, I always, as I'm walking out, I was like, man, I appreciate you guys so much.
Yeah.
Thanks for everything today.
I see you do that all the time.
Because that's something I had to learn to cultivate.
Yeah.
And it's meaningful for people.
And can I say this? It makes me feel really sad for that lady. That like, I wonder if that's something you learned out of that was something positive, and
And she's burning in hell. And no, I'm kidding. Joking. It's kind of a joke.
Kind of a joke.
I think when you get trapped in a way of seeing, it's hard to get out of.
Yeah.
It's hard to get out of.
Well, the last one is to close the gratitude gap, and then we'll wind down. Volunteer to help others. I've been was texting with one of our members, and they were saying, "Hey, do we still do turkeys for Thanksgiving and all that kind of stuff?" And I was like, "No," I said, we don't do that anymore, but the food pantry's open. 2 days this week, you can go serve. Because she's looking for somewhere for the family to do something on Thanksgiving, which I think is awesome tradition. Like Christmas manna we have here at the church, where you can buy presents for family with children, and then you can take it to deliver to them, to the parents. And so we were back and forth, and I was just giving her all kinds of ideas for things, and she goes, "We decided to do family-wide kids' meals bags." So they're planning their own gratitude volunteer deal, which I think is awesome.
Yeah.
Because they want their kids to recognize and give back, but also to see how much they have to be thankful for. I think more parents should do that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Good.
It's interesting. A person that taught me this was Clay Everett in our church.
Oh yeah.
And he has helped so many folks in terms of like sponsoring folks in the program. And he would say, all the time, the only way to solidify the change that you're looking for in your life is to serve other people. It's the only way to get out of your own mind is to go someplace and serve. And I've watched him for now 25, almost 30 years, do that, pull people into that, say that over and over again, that the only way to keep what you want to have and to gain that is to go serve somebody else.
Yeah.
I think it's really, really true.
Well, as you are sitting around, hopefully if you're listening to this around the Thanksgiving day or around Thanksgiving, or even if it's after Thanksgiving and you're heading into Christmas season, this is good stuff, not just for this time of the year, but to develop these practices throughout the year.
Yeah.
To close the gratitude gap. Right, Jeff?
It's great.
I know.
Love it.
And to recognize that, turkey is just something we're going to have to tolerate again this year.
You know what I'm doing? I'm making ribs.
Heck
See,
yeah.
now that's...
Last turkey I made was the fryer,
Yeah.
which was awesome, but it wasn't better than ribs. So I decided.
So you're elevating Thanksgiving, not just about the sides. You're going to make it about the meat, the main.
It is about the meat, but it's not about the turkey meat. So the ribs. There's a guy that
I like that.
there's a guy in my life that named Dan Durant that passed away a number of years ago that taught me how to make his ribs.
You told me how you make ribs before.
Dude, they are. Listen,
Just like super tender and all that.
super world famous. Maybe I'll drop some by.
I don't need any food. Thank you, though.
Just to have a little taste.
I don't need any
Little nibble.
food.
Little nibble.
Jeff's going to be in Dallas if you want to drive some up for him.
Yeah. I'll
They'll
meet you
be
halfway.
here. They'll be here.
Okay. Okay.
They're even better
Stop
2 days
at
later.
Buc-ee's on the way up.
They're even better later.
Oh, yeah.
There's something about
Marinate and just soaks in.
Netflix and ribs.
Oh, yeah.
That's the side. is
Well, make
Netflix.
sure you like, subscribe, share the podcast. Someone that may need a little gratitude pick-me-up, right? And so
And
make
we're
sure
here
share
for
with
you.
them.
That's what we are.
Yeah, I appreciate you too. And I appreciate everybody who listens to this podcast. Well, I'm John Stevens.
I'm Matt Russell.
And this is Pod Have Mercy.